I want to go now to the last part of the roundtable conversation, which is going to be about peace building. Before I do that, I want to talk to the virtual audience to say that please, if you have any questions for any of the discussants on the roundtable, you're free to pose your questions here in the Q&A, and we will take the questions as soon as we're done with the conversation. We have barely 15 minutes to finish the conversation, so please feel free to post your questions now, and then we would address them after the conversation. I want to go to Rinu now. As part of the peace building or conflict resolution process for the NSAS conflict, there has been the panel of inquiries that you mentioned earlier, and the Lagos State Panel of Inquiry released its report in November 15, 2021. And from the judicial panel, which was set up by the Lagos State government, in conjunction with the federal government of Nigeria. I'm stating this because of what happened after the reports were released. So the state and federal government set up this judicial panels, and the Lagos State panel revealed that according to them, with the investigations and the hearings, 48 people were killed on October 20th, and about 21 other persons were injured. The panel also revealed that the Nigerian military refused to allow ambulances to rescue protesters, thereby increasing the number of casualties, and that they attempted a cleanup of the scene using the Lagos State Waste Management Authority. The Lagos State, the Nigerian information ministers come out to debunk this report, to say that it is a report that contains errors, inconsistencies, discrepancies, and speculations, and it's not supported by any evidence. Rinu, what is happening here? Why does the government not believe the report by a panel that they set up by themselves?
Thank you very much, Medina, for this question. And it's important, to talk about this particular conversation as regards, this section, peace building. Tolu said something the other time, I'm sorry to go back, but he talked about the fact that social media platforms are trying to build influence or use their influence. It's a known fact that governments around the world, especially African democratic governments as well, are trying to shut down the people's voices. So I expect no other narrative. He also talked about the fact that bringing international attention to police brutality in Nigeria shouldn't, or try to invalidate it, in my opinion. And I think that is a very core statement to make regarding the fact that young people have always been victims of police brutality. Even the Black Lives Matter movement did not limit their reach to the UK or the US. They made sure that the voices heard that the world heard their voices. So why is it now that it came to the largest Black nation on earth, the most populous nation filled with Black people, that we still have to remind our governments that Black lives still matter? Coming to the peace building conversation, the panel released a report, and then the same government that set up the panel, that unpicked some members on the panel, came out to debunk that same report. It's incredulous, and like Fela Kuti would say, he would say that it's government magic. And it's important. I would have loved Seun to answer this. It's important that we examine this in the context of other killings, of other state violence, of other, that's what I'll use for it, state violence, of other massacres that has happened at the end of the state in Nigeria. When we talk about the Odi massacre, the Zakibian massacre, the prototype, the kind of mechanism that has been issued by the state has always been the same. They have refused to change it, which is always trying to, deny what happened. It was after 7 years that the Nigerian soldiers finally agreed that they massacred the people, citizens, innocent citizens at Zakibam then. So for me, what I'll just use for it is incredulous. And we're talking about peace building. I talked about the fact that Lagos State panel was supposed to. It was called the panel of restitution, a judicial panel of inquiry and restitution. And restitution is a process where you're restoring at least a bit of something somebody has lost, back to that person and giving them succor. It's a process where a party is willing to take responsibility for their actions and are striving, for improvement. But then what are we seeing today? I mean, until we fully want to gaslight each other, until the Nigerian government assaulted the NSAS movement, it was peaceful. The same government went on to shoot at demonstrators, not just that, even if we're choosing to put that aside, even after the Lekki Tollgate massacre happened, they seized people, my passport was seized, placed people on no-fly list, my account was frozen as a result of my participation in a peaceful protest in a democratic setting. Many protesters were in prison, many of whom are still in prison, by the way, on bogus charges. Some have never even been taken to court at all. We're going to 2 years now that the NSAS protest has happened. And then we're discussing peace building, we're discussing resolution, like the question you asked. At the same time, the government is probating and approbating at the same time. The state's constant denial and extensive propaganda. Seun said one thing and said that Lai Mohammed was talking about the fact that some CSO should apologize to Nigeria. He's right by saying that that Lai Mohammed is the one who should apologize. I mean, the entire Nigerian government should apologize to Nigerians for trying to gaslight us. Over 200,000 people on a virtual live video watched what was happening, and a government decided to tell people, you are not saying what you saw wasn't real. And this was further propagated by state actors, by their media highlights. And this only recognizes the state efforts to cover up incidents. The status quo needs to change. I mean, we should, if we're going to go deep, I mean, if we never even requested that police brutality ended, nobody would have answered. The Nigerian government would have kept quiet. The status quo would have remained. You see, the NSAS protest did not emerge overnight. The rot, the hunger, the pain of young Nigerians have been simmering for years as a result of the country's selective justice system. Like I said, you get beaten up by the police, the cops get away with it, they extort you, they get away with it, they cover up, they extrajudicially kill your friend, they get away with it. The police was supposed to be your friend and was supposed to be the one protecting you. I mean, in Nigeria, a so-called democracy, I was running from security agents who were supposed to protect me, but then were actually trying to murder me because of protest. What is the reason for this? Like I said, it is important to understand this context, together. If you want to be a peacemaker, right? If we're going to talk about peace building, you have to start from a position of justice. You have to start from a position of accepting your responsibility in issues that have happened. You asked a question the other time, I guess it was directed at me or Seun, and said there were a lot of blames that were being thrown back and forth. This one was pointing to this one. We went there, we didn't go there. It was fake news. It wasn't fake news. We shot at them. We shot blank bullets. It was forces beyond my control. No, the shootings never happened. A lot of gaslighting and lies. And if you want to be a peacemaker, like I said, you need to first start from a position of fairness. You need to start from justice. We need to, if we want to talk about peace at all, right, we need to talk about in Nigeria, where people's rights are protected. And that has to first start by holding people accountable, which was why I said that this generation is done holding ghosts accountable. We refuse any longer to keep on celebrating criminals that due to their negligence or some of their actions or others that has led to the death of hundreds of Nigerians. We need a country where people's voices will not be silenced at a time that the country needs to stimulate dialogue, that we need to have information exchange, that we need to share opinions. There are a lot of issues, but then if you want to be a peacemaker, if you want to start talking about peace, and then in this context, we have to start from a position of truth, of justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinu. I'm gonna just slide to first of all Japhet, and then Seun, and then lastly Tolu. And my question is the same thing. If we want to talk about peace in the context of NSAS, what should we be addressing right now? I'm going to start with Matthew then.
Yeah, peace in the context of NSARS moving forward. I mean, in order for there to be peace, there has to be, accountability and reconciliation. And I think Rinu's impassioned plea there is really important for us to internalize when it comes to that. I'm a little disturbed, by our set of conversations just now about sort of social media, the neutrality of social media organizations or the neutrality of civil society organizations about this issue, as if we're discussing sort of a matter of opinion, like which jollof rice is better, Ghanaian or Nigerian jollof. I mean, this is not a two sides issue. We're talking about human rights. We're talking about, extrajudicial killings. We're talking about truth, as Seun and Rinu have spelled out very clearly. And I think we shouldn't allow this sort of dissimulation about what happened during NSARS or what the causes are, or about how police brutality happens everywhere over the world. Therefore, that's a sort of a whataboutism type of approach. Yes, police brutality happens in America, and America has its own reckoning with police brutality. And certainly I think it's legitimate to argue that, police brutality or state predation takes different forms in different places and requires, local solutions involving local stakeholders, but there also needs to be accountability. And that starts, in Nigeria's very centralized political system with the presidency, with the ruling elites around. I mean, everybody points fingers. I mean, when during the meeting with Secretary Blinken, the Secretary of State Blinken brought up with President Buhari, the issue of the Lagos report. And Buhari said something sort of surprising to me, which was, the states, it's for the states all have to sort of take action into this. It's a federal police force, and you, Mr. President, are the only person who can hold the IGP and commissioners of police responsible. I mean, we all know that commissioners of police are moved around the chessboard, before elections. I mean, so it's like Rinu said, don't gaslight us. I mean, Nigerians are not stupid. I mean, they know that we understand that government spokespeople like Lai Mohammed have to try to put a positive spin on things that sometimes are very difficult to put a positive spin on, in the same way that government spokespeople all over the world have to do that. But there's a line between putting a positive spin or not commenting or pivoting on a particular issue to actually lying and gaslighting and vilifying, right, those who are like Amnesty International. I mean, again, the Nigerian government, can vilify Amnesty International at will, and everybody's, including Amnesty International, is completely used to it. Just another Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, as far as they're concerned. So my point is to answer your question when it comes to peace and accountability and moving on from NSARS and social media as a means to do that. Look, social media has the power to bring people together and to provoke discussion. But what we can't allow is for there to be this false equivalence or equivocation or the two-sidism to this issue, where the government and its spokespeople say, well, we can agree to disagree. No, we cannot agree to disagree on these issues. There are absolute sort of moral issues at stake here. This is not as to, the question of like, what is your favorite James Bond movie? And, that's a two sides or multiple sides to the coin. So I guess that's where I draw the line, and I'm extremely impatient and dismissive, and of those again who say that this is sort of a subjective issue. It is not one, and certainly we all knew that before the Lagos State Commission of Inquiry report came out, but certainly the testimonies that came out to that leave no iota of doubt as to what happened. And as Rinu said, those don't even really clear up the fact, all those sort of unknown protesters, the sort of the nameless, the anonymous people who've been murdered, not just during the protest, but sort of going back decades. Their memories are being dishonored as well by pretending that these things didn't happen.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We're about running a bit over time, but I'm still going to go to Tolu right now. Peace building and SARS. What is non-negotiable? Are you still here, Tolu? While we're waiting for Tolu, let me go to Japhet, please, very, very quickly. Peace building and end SARS. Where do we go from here?
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please. Can you give me the question again?
The question is for the peace building processes for the end SARS conflict. Where should we go from here? What is non-negotiable?
I did a post, a Medium post at the time, where I kind of touched on some of these things. So, and the example or the kind of analogy that I give is that public protests like the end SARS that
we have lost you, Tolu. Japhet, can you quickly answer before Tolu comes back?
Can you hear me now? Or are you still?
Yeah, okay, fine. I can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay. Yeah, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I said incidentally, Occupy Nigeria is a decade old this month, actually. And so the point I'm making is that there are some things that mass movements, public protests can accomplish. But there are other things that have to be accomplished away from the streets. So there's a place for both aspects of I guess of what you might call movements. There's stuff that you can get done out there on the streets, but there's also stuff that gets done in the government, in the corridors of power, that gets done, I guess by, so police reform, for example, it's long, painstaking work that is going to happen over time. And that's not to make any excuses for the police. Police reform definitely needs to happen. But if you look at the example of, say, Occupy Nigeria, for example, now it was about fuel subsidy in the short term, but the larger issues were about NNPC transparency, oil sector transparency, and all that stuff. Now, Occupy Nigeria was able to get the fuel prices reduced at that time. And it got panels. There was the Igimokwede panel, the Nuhu panels. It got those panels set up. But beyond that, the longer work or the larger work of the PIB and that stuff, all that stuff had to be hammered out in parliament, laws changed, and stuff like that. So we must have both a short-term, we must have short, medium, and long-term views to these things. And the work of police reform, NSAS has done an excellent job of highlighting the issues, the movement, the issues, and drawing all the attention and all that. It got the judicial panel set up, that kind of stuff. But there's still longer-term work, that needs to be done. There are laws that need to be changed. The Police Act from 1943 only got amended in 2019. Which is unbelievable. Like, how did we live with a police act that is 70 plus years old? So that kind of work, we must not underestimate the impact of that kind of work as well. Legislative work, that work that goes on, in parliament, in government houses, and that kind of stuff. So that's my view. that we've
All
got to have a holistic approach to these things and see the short, the medium, and the long-term solutions to the issues.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Japheth, please, in 30 seconds, what is non-negotiable?
Yeah, I was going to say that as beautiful as peace is, you cannot have peace without healing, right? And to heal, there has to be revelations. And that's why I was going to quote Jay-Z when he said that you cannot heal what you don't reveal. So we have to be very open about the things that have happened. We have to be very, very not afraid to say that these things happened, both government and everyone else. And then we can start to go in the direction of justice. And then from there, then peace happens. Peace is a consequence of all of these things, not something that we are going to force to happen. That's the 30 seconds.
Thanks, Japheth. Seun,
I mean,
your 30 seconds starts from now.
There's almost nothing to say again that has not been said. Justice, and justice is what I think is necessary to build peace in the context of the conflict, if I can use that word. I mean, justice for the victims and their family members, right? Justice for Nigerians, but there can be no justice until people are held accountable. So accountability. And that's one thing that the government is not ready to do. You've seen, they've been talking about paying compensations to people and that, but bring people to book so that they can serve as deterrent to others. That has not happened. It must happen. And then I think more importantly, we need to have a right respection system in place that can challenge impunity impartially. If we do not have this, we cannot talk about peace without these three things that I've spoken about. Justice, accountability, and a right respecting system should be put in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seun. From everything that I hear from all of you, what is important is justice, no gaslighting, and then you have to reveal everything. You have to plan medium, long-term and short-term plans and implement this. This for us kind of sums up what we expect to happen. This is the end of the conversation. And if you think I'm not taking questions, I already see that some answers to the questions are going on the Q&A panel. And that's why I'm not going to talk about this, but we already overshot our time with 6 minutes, and I apologize for that. But the discussions were too interesting for me to stop. I want to thank all of you for being here. Matthew, Rinu, Japheth, Seun, and Tolu, thank you very much for all of the work that we put into making this roundtable happen. Thank you very much for being here. I also want to thank the virtual audience. Thank you very much for sticking with us, even though we overshot with a bit of 6 minutes. Apologies, and thank you very much for being here. To all of my colleagues at the Collegium, I see all of you. Thank you very much for being here, and I miss you guys working alone here. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you all. See you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Medinat. Well done.
Thank you to Medinat for
Bye.
organizing this. You've done a fantastic job, and thanks to all panelists. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.